Hey guys, Randy with Pete's RV TV Today I wanted to talk a minute about tankless hot water heaters. Recently I've been getting multiple calls a week on people describing the operation of their hot water heater, their tankless hot water heater in their new RV, not living up to their expectations. And so usually when I describe to them the functionality and best practices, they're like, oh my God, that makes so much sense, and I never hear from them again. So that tells me that what I told them is working. And so to use something appropriately, I'm a firm believer, if you know how it works, you can use it better. And so that's what I do. I usually figure out how things works, and I can explain to you how to use them in the best way. So brand new Jayco here. We've got a Suburban tankless hot water heater, very commonplace now in a lot of the units out there. It doesn't even need to be a big high-end fifth wheel. It can be in a regular travel trailer. I see them in some of the aluminum-sided travel trailers out there, and it's a great thing to have. I'm currently staying in an RV right now that has one, and I love it in the morning, as long as I don't run out of that tank space because I don't have hookups. But again, back to, you need to know how it works. So with anything that has a heat exchanger in it, and I've got one kind of broken down here. So what a heat exchanger is, we have a heat exchanger in our forced hot air furnace in our RV, and we also have one in our tankless hot water heater. And what the heat exchanger is simply put, it's a box that we put fire in, and then we wrap some things around the box that we want to heat up. With your furnace, it is going to be, we blow air across the heat exchanger, blows hot air into the camper. And here we wrap copper pipes around the heat exchanger and through the heat exchanger, putting cold water through it, and that water heats up as it goes around and through the heat exchanger. So heat exchangers are exchanging an internal fire for external heat, and that gets the carbon monoxide outside and gives us heat where we want to heat it. With any heat exchanger, there is a safety device in there that is going to keep it from overheating. And I don't mean the high limit switch. I mean a flow control, or a flow sense, or an air sense. So on the furnace, you guys may have heard of the sail switch. I read lots of forums and things like that, and anytime furnaces are talked about, everybody goes after the sail switch. And what the sail switch does on a furnace to protect that heat exchanger, that flame in the box, is it detects moving air. When the fan turns on, clicks a switch that has a sail on it, and that tells the board that it is okay to put flame in that box. Very similar on one of these water heaters, and where we typically go wrong is on the water heater is it's got a flow control. So it can sense, it's got a little impeller, or it's got a little sensor inside the pipe that tells that water is moving through the system. And it needs a certain amount of water to move through the system to make sure that it is enough to keep the heat exchanger cool. And if we're not moving enough water through the system, it will not keep the heat exchanger cool, providing it to shut down and not work appropriately like we think we want it to, right? So I just wanted to show you this breakdown here. This copper box is going to be the heat exchanger, and these coils of pipes going around it, that is what we put our water through. Heat the box, heat the water, and we've got endless hot water. So what typically happens with people in the shower is they will kind of try to play around with the hot and cold much like they do at home. That is not what we need to do here in the RV world. So we have a very small heat exchanger, probably a quarter size of the one you have at home if you have instant hot water set up at home. And what we need to do there is we need to move as much water as possible through that heat exchanger to make sure that we've got the appropriate flow. So I remember when these water heaters first came out in the industry, and one of the things that our industry has been built upon is getting out there and using it off the grid and conserving water and conserving energy, and smaller is a little bit better in most cases. And so that's the way our shower heads were built. And so we put a hot water heater into an RV that needed a certain amount of water to go through a control to keep the heat exchanger from overheating. And then we put low flow shower heads on our RVs that limited water flow. Didn't work so well. So you can imagine the surprise of the customer when I told them when these first came out that if you want to take a hot shower, you may have to turn on the hot water faucet in the sink next to the shower, as well as the hot water faucet in the shower, to make sure that we've got enough flow going through that water heater to keep that heat exchanger cool and keep it making hot water. And so what I direct people to do now is I want you to open up. They've gotten better. They fixed that problem. It's gotten a lot better. But people still don't understand the mixing because they're doing it like they do at the house. And at home, we won't turn the hot on all the way. We turn the hot on part way, and then we bring the cold in and kind of get our temperature that way. Not what I want you to do in your RV. I want you to turn the hot on all the way. Turn it on maxed, full. That is going to put as much water that can go through this system out of one faucet through this system, keeping that sensor moving so we keep that box cool, that heat exchanger cool. So put the hot on all the way, and then we want to bring the cold up into it to get our desired temperature. Now, you typically have a monitor or a device in your bathroom or near your panel with all the other switches and everything that is going to have water temperature on it, where you can turn your water heater on. Turn it on. Currently, I've got mine set at 120. And it's working very well for me. And that way, when I take a hot shower, I can turn it on all the way, and I bring the cold up into it about a quarter way, and that's the good temperature for me currently in the way I'm operating. So to use your hot water heater appropriately, that instant hot water heater, the on-demand hot water heater for endless hot water, make sure that we've got a good LP supply, and we've got good water supply, obviously, and then B, turn that hot water in your shower on all the way, and then bring the cold up into it to get your desired temperature. If you only turn the hot water on part way, you're not gonna get hot water for very long. So I hope this helps you out in knowing how your hot water heater works, and get you to be able to use it a little bit more effectively if you are having trouble with that hot water heater. So turn that water on all the way, bring up the cold to your desired temperature, then have a great long hot shower that usually isn't happening in a camper. So thanks for watching Pete's RV TV with Randy today. I look forward to seeing you on the road. Happy camping.